Welcome back to Conscious Migration. I'm your host, Ian Jaded. Today we're taking another dive into the realm of non-ordinary healing. We've covered how to perform healings on yourself in other videos, which I will tag at the end and in the description below. But today we're talking about a specific healing I experienced in a lucid dream, and why doing a healing in that state of awareness can be so much more powerful than a healing done from an ordinary frame of consciousness. And I still find this particular lucid dream really fascinating because on some level, I'm still quite mystified by it, which is pretty cool to me. So get comfortable, smoke 'em if you got 'em, and get ready for today's episode of Conscious Migration. Now, before we go further, I always need to make something abundantly clear whenever we talk about alternative healing techniques. This is not an anti-science channel. Whenever you are suffering from any kind of serious ailment, my advice is that you bring that issue to a trusted medical professional. That is, if you can, given the horrible state of healthcare in this absurdly wealthy country of ours, where for some reason we don't ask our rich people to pay their share of taxes, but I digress. I'm not suggesting you have to just do whatever your doctor tells you to. I'm not suggesting you should blindly take any medication they tell you to take. From the mouths of my own family physicians over the years, I've heard everything from shockingly bad advice to information that was just flat out incorrect about how the human body works, even to the most absolute wrong diagnosis of serious symptoms. I believe strongly in the methodology of science and peer-reviewed research, but that doesn't mean I always have faith in the individuals who practice that science. Doctors don't always have all the answers, but that doesn't mean you should go to your local tarot card reader and put all your faith in them to heal you from the stage 4 cancer you're suffering from. Bring your issue to as many professionals you trust first. Openly listen to what they suggest and then make a decision as to how to move forward. Your health doesn't have to be handled in an either-or manner, medical science or alternative healing. Use everything at your disposal. Okay, with that said, let's dive into a healing technique I want to help you tap into, which I experienced first in a lucid dream state. As I said, we covered a very specific healing practice that can be done through meditation at any time of the day. So if entering a lucid dream state is still eluding you for one reason or another, just know that you can always access any of the non-ordinary healings I cover, regardless of your ability to be fully conscious in the REM state. Remember, being lucid ultimately means you are awake to the moment as it unfolds. However, I found that healing yourself in the lucid state tends to be much faster, spontaneous even, from my experience, and far more effective than doing it through a daily meditation. We'll cover why that is later. But let me start with a quick story about when I first stumbled upon healing myself inside a lucid dream state. The first time I experienced a healing for myself in a lucid dream was somewhere around 20 years ago. Up to this point, I probably fell somewhere in the average range when it came to getting sick. I would get a cold maybe a couple times a year, and the flu maybe once a year, maybe every 2 years. On this particular occasion, strong flu symptoms were on a steady rise for the better part of the day, with muscle aches, fever, chills, and total lack of energy. When I went to bed that night, I was spiraling into a fast decline. Within moments after falling asleep, I entered a normal dream at first. In the dream, I was on a small rowboat in the middle of a large body of water, with no shoreline in sight in the middle of the night. When I looked over the edge of the boat, I found the water just had a slow, gentle rhythm of waves, but what shook me awake, that is, into a lucid state of consciousness, was the color of the water. The surface shimmered with a brilliant, almost electric blue glow. It added a rather ghostly quality to the whole scene, but it wasn't creepy or unsettling. This was blissful and deeply peaceful. The moment I laid eyes on this rhythmic, ecstatic blue glow around me, I woke up. Not physically, but I became fully conscious of the moment that was unfolding. A full realization that this is a dream. My physical body is asleep. I am fully conscious. The very next realization that arose was a deeply emotional one as I gazed into this almost otherworldly glowing substance, or energy might be a better word, which I was floating on. This was a combination of pure awe and intense, undeniable, direct understanding that this wasn't water beneath my little boat at all, but rather it was optimum health in physical form. This is a bit abstract, so bear with me. This blue fluid that, upon further examination, had the characteristics of a plasma-like energy. It wasn't a metaphor or a symbol of being healthy, like you generally find in typical dreams. Everything you deal with in normal dream states is ultimately just a representation of some other aspect of your psyche, your ego, unchecked emotional baggage, etc., etc. This wasn't a representation. It somehow was the epitome of health in physical form. And that is just the nature of lucid dreaming, because when you are fully present to the moment, metaphor breaks down and reality simply is what you are experiencing. At that moment, a deep, ancient part of me cried out in pure gratitude and celebration. It was the most profound sense of, finally, I found it. This is it. This is the indescribable energy I've been searching for 1,000 lifetimes. And yet, rationally, I can't explain exactly why I felt like that. I reached over the side of the boat and I just let my hand drag through the current for a moment, and it felt a bit like water, but somehow lighter and softer. It moved around my fingers like water, but it didn't have nearly the same density or weight to it. Immediately, the moment my hand made contact with this energy, I was overwhelmed by pure euphoria instantly through my entire body, and I knew without a shred of doubt that I was healed. A few seconds later, and I woke up in bed, and that is physically this time. All my flu symptoms were gone. Fever, gone. Aches and pains had vanished. I felt perfect. I was in that moment the epitome of health. And again, I had just been in horrible shape literally less than 2 minutes ago. Since this direct contact with pure healing energy, I found that it was easier to reconnect with this same state of consciousness in my daily meditations. At the time of recording this video, I've not come across that blue energy in a lucid dream again, but I sense I don't have to. That healing was timeless. It stayed with me. It's like I never left that state of healing in some respects. Since that experience some 20 years ago, I've only suffered from minor cold symptoms twice. I can clearly remember both of them. In both cases, I had a bit of congestion and a sore throat for part of the day, and I've had minor flu symptoms once in the last 20 or so years, and that was when I contracted COVID back in February. Now let me be clear, I'm not suggesting that I'm now invincible or that you two will never get sick if you manage to connect with this same energy I found. All living things break down and change forms eventually. We're all dancing to the tune of entropy in this reality. I don't have any good reason to think my body is supernaturally unbreakable by any means. I am saying that I'm now capable of connecting with this state of optimum health, which impacts me physically and psychologically, and I know that has given me an incredible edge on maintaining my overall well-being. I'm now 50 years old, and although I can feel and see myself aging, most people who meet me for the first time think I'm somewhere in my 30s. But again, let me be clear, I don't just sit around meditating all day and lucid dreaming all night to stay healthy. I also take pretty good care of myself. I exercise, I keep a fairly healthy diet, I don't drink alcohol at all anymore, and I never smoke cigarettes. However, I feel my lifestyle choices are also a side effect of connecting with this state of health. So I'm kind of faced with this chicken or egg scenario. And if you think about it, the real magic is in making those decisions in the first place. Eating right and exercising doesn't take some special talent or a rare skill that only some people have. The hard part is internally making the decision to carry through with it and actually do it. That's where the spark is. That's the elusive quality that people who tend to take better care of themselves possess. To me, that's the real power of entering this state of consciousness. It can not only heal you, more importantly, it appears to be able to rewrite your decision-making at the core, where the real change starts. Now that's all well and good for me, but how can you connect with this same kind of healing? No, you don't have to have a dream of being on a rowboat in the middle of the night, floating on pure magical health. That was the unique way I connected with this energy, and this came about spontaneously in my case. But I'm going to offer a few clues to set your intention on the right path so you can find your own way back to this state of pure health. Now, before I break down any of these methods, I want to first offer the fastest, most effective way of entering this state of health, which will likely only make sense to some of you, and that's okay. It's totally understandable because what I'm going to suggest is going to sound ridiculously simplistic and possibly, impossibly vague. And that technique is this. Stop what you're doing, close your eyes, imagine the highest, most optimum state of health the human body can achieve. Find that vibration and simply become it. Don't ask, but how? What does that mean? Don't let your mind question it for a moment. Stop looking for more steps. Drop all notion of technique. Stop asking questions and directly become the epitome of health. I know how that sounds to many of you. I get it. I really do. But if you can allow yourself to do that, I'd turn this video off right now and just do that every morning or night, just as much as you like. When I first started down this path, that would not have made any sense to me, at least. My mind would have demanded more information. It would want more steps to get there. I'd probably even be irritated with that advice. Well, it's not as simple as just being healthy. It's more complicated than that. Let's explore another route of getting you into this state, and that's by using this blue energy itself. Because again, what shocked me the most during this vision was the highly unique, brilliant color of this substance. That is what still to this day really mystifies me about this experience, that somehow the color I was picking up from it was healing in and of itself. Even though I'm an artist, I guess I should have known that color can be healing, but I suppose I had only thought of that more as a poetic notion. All of my intuition about this blue, fluid-like substance I encountered tells me that this energy was pretty much exactly how I've tried to describe it to you. It's somehow a physical representation of optimum health, and for whatever reason, it has an intense electric blue glow to it. Since coming into contact with this energy, I've tried over and over to capture this exact hue and quality in my artwork. And so far, I'd still say that this painting right here, which was done with what's called an acrylic pour technique that I created somewhere around 2017 or so, this is the closest I've come to capturing the exact color and characteristics of this energy. So if you're a lucid dreamer, great. If not, you can still practice going into this state of awareness through meditation. Again, I lay out very clear meditation steps in my other videos. Once you are lucid or meditating, you first set your unbending intent on what you want to experience, and then open yourself up to what arises. Laser focus and then release. That means that as soon as you become lucid in a dream state, you are calling up a vibration or a frequency that gives off this quality of blue. Set your intention on finding an energy that is the perfect state of health, and then surrender. Open yourself to whatever comes up. That means stop talking to yourself. Stop problem solving or fantasizing or remembering what happened earlier, and ultimately stop trying to steer your experience. If at first you fail, you come up with nothing, do it again. Laser focus and release. And you'll have to use your own intuition as to how to deal with whatever you might find, because this energy can manifest in 1,001 ways. Now, in my dream, I found it while I was on a boat on a lake, but that's hardly important in the deeper sense of what we're tapping into here. Furthermore, perhaps just laying your eyes on the art I've created here will help some of you spontaneously tap into this energy in a future lucid dream or a meditation. If that happens, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. But my guess is that a more reliable way to tap into this energy would be to start with the intention of entering an optimum state of health and entering from there. I said earlier that merging with this type of vibration can be far more powerful in a lucid dream state, and here's why. It's one of the purest states you can work with that's free from the biggest obstacles that can stand in your way of entering a perfect state of health. The body is asleep, practically out of the picture. So what we are, which is pure consciousness, isn't identified with the physical body at that moment. It is temporarily unbound to it. That's why so many of the out-of-body experiences you tend to hear about are during near-death experiences. The body is shut down, either in a coma-like state or under anesthesia on an operating table. And that makes it far, far easier to disconnect ourselves from the story of the body. In the end, you'll find it's a remarkably thin, fragile line between this world and the next. We've talked about this a lot, the narratives we hold about who we are, what the body is, and what it is in relation to what this world is that we're living in. So when I say we are disconnected from the story of the body, I'm saying we all carry a running narrative in our heads all day long, and often all night long, about who we are. We repeat that narrative incessantly to ourselves and often to others. Often those narratives, we also maintain a story about our own body. That is, if I asked you to tell me the tale of your physical body from as early as you can remember up until now, what does that look like? You may tell that story to yourself through vague imagery, you carry that you think your body actually looks like, or what it represents, or it may be a story told through a series of emotions, how you felt about your body at different stages of your life up to what you think about it right now. For example, if you asked me, I'd tell you about how I was always the tall, really skinny kid with pale skin and bright blonde hair. I had terrible allergies to dust and pollen growing up. I broke my nose in a swimming pool when I was about 10, and I tore a ligament in my left ankle when I was about 13. And I was really awkward about how frail I looked in middle school and high school. But then somewhere in my 20s, I started bulking up, and now I'm in pretty decent shape. Of course, I could actually stand to lose a few pounds, and blah, 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 blah. It's the story we carry about our body. In a lucid state, it appears to me that we're basically working far more so from a blank slate. There is no active stream of information connecting our consciousness with the physical body. Or if there is, it's fairly weak. So one way of thinking about it is to say that if some of the information that we are holding about the body is that I'm sick, I have the flu, I have aches and pains and yada yada yada, then the best time to interrupt that flow of information with new information that says I'm in perfect health is when the body is set aside in one way or another. When very little of our attention needs to be connected to it. It's easier to accept the new information when there is a disruption in the flow of the old information. And yes, this can be absolutely done during the day, during a meditative state, because essentially in meditation, one of the things we're trying to do is quiet the flow of information pouring out of the body. It just depends on your ability to enter a passive state of internal peace during meditation. During a lucid dream state, the body is basically already where you want it to be. If you want to start rewriting the information it's processing, it's asleep. You're in the REM state. It's in a highly impressionable state because it's not currently processing that old toxic information about how it's sick. And the more you understand that about the body, how that relationship works between our consciousness and the physical, the more you'll start to realize all the potential you carry to rewrite your story. And not just about the body, about who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses really are. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and if you have any questions or comments for me, please write them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. And if you really like what I'm doing here and you'd like to see more of this kind of content on the internet, subscribe to my channel. It costs you nothing, and those numbers really mean a lot to getting this information spread around. So until next time, peace and love. Take care.